Welcome back to the channel, guys. Trading Simplified. So today we are going to review international funds. We're going to review 3 mutual funds: FZILX, FSPSX, FTIHX, and then the ETF, Vanguard Total International Stock Index Fund. What I want to show you is this chart. This chart below has all 4 of these funds, and we can compare them to the S&P 500. If I click this box right here, an orange line will show up. As you can see, the S&P 500 has outperformed these in the past 10 years. But what I like to show you is I think it's good to have some diversification outside of the US. And when you buy these international funds, it's a good way to diversify the portfolio. Although, so far in the last 10 years, we can see that the S&P 500 has beaten them. But let's go specifically into each one, and then we'll break down which one we think is best. So just for everybody watching, I'm using Fidelity website to review these funds. The first fund we're going to review is the Fidelity Zero International Index Fund, which is FZILX. It gets the term zero because it has 0 expense ratios. It does not charge a fee for this fund. Now, that doesn't mean it's the best fund, but when you're not paying any fees, it is worth looking at. And Fidelity offers this to bring in new customers, so then hopefully they start buying other funds. If you look at FZILX, just look at the performance over time. It has produced an average life of 4.51%, which you can see right here. So over the life of the fund, it is a little bit lower when comparing it to other international funds. Now, that doesn't mean it's a bad fund, but you definitely need to know what you are putting your money into. When we look at the overall composition of FZILX, we can see here on the left side that these are the major sectors. So 20% is financials, industrials 14%, technology 12%, consumer discretionary 11%, and the list goes on here. At the equity style map, we can see that we have a blend of value and growth, and all companies must have greater than $10 billion. That's what the fund is investing into. It's in international equities. 73% make up developed markets, and emerging markets make up 26%. Now, when I look at international holdings, one of the big things that stands out to me is, what are the top holdings? How many holdings do we have? So FZILX offers 2,273 companies within it as of April 30th, 2024. This is the top 10 holdings, which account for 11.49%, which is TSM, Nordisk, ASML, Samsung, Toyota, Tencent, Nestle, Shell, and these two. When you look at it, you want to see, where am I investing my money internationally? Because you're not in the United States for this. So Europe is 41.71%, emerging markets is 26%, Japan is 16%, Canada 7%, Asia Pacific 7%. So you can see the portfolio diversification here just by looking at the portfolio weight. So this FZILX is more heavy weighted in Japan at 16.9%, whereas United Kingdom's 9.6%, Canada 7%, France. So you're getting your money spread out all over the world, which is pretty nice to see. But it's pretty low in Saudi Arabia, Hong Kong, Europe, Brazil, and Spain. So now let's review the fees and distributions. And as you can see here, for FZILX, you have a expense ratio of $0. So you're not paying anything, which is awesome. But let's look at the dividends here. You are getting, from December 15, 2023, you got 33 cents per share. In 2022, you got 26 cents per share. So you're getting paid basically once a year in dividends. So you have to hold it, and in December, they will give you a payout. There is no minimum investment, so you can get started if you were just doing $10 a week or a month, which is excellent because that allows people to get in and just start building their investment account. The next fund that we're going to review is the Fidelity International Index Fund. This has a lot of popularity within it. It is ticker symbol FSPSX. Its NAV price, which is the price you would pay to buy one share, is $50.67 currently. it's up 7%. It has 4 stars out of 686 funds, and this is the risk category within it. How do they rate this risk category? They look at overall 5-year period and the difference between the Morningstar return and the based on the fund total returns. See that the expense ratio is 0.35%. Looking at the 10-year return here, if you were to buy in 2015, your $10,000 would have increased up to a little over $15,500. Now, what makes up this international fund? You can see you have less exposure with only 783 holdings. When I think about holding an international fund, I kind of want as many companies as I can. So that's a preference I have. But you have to ask yourself, what do you want when you're investing in international companies? This has a more concentrated, as you can see, 15% of the total portfolio is within basically very similar companies as the previous FZILX that we reviewed. So this is more concentrated. So if these companies do well, it's going to perform better than that zero expense ratio that we just mentioned. As you can see, the fund overview, financials makes up a huge part at 18%, and it's widely placed within Japan at 22%. If you look at the total returns of the Fidelity International Index Fund, the life is a little bit higher at 5.25%, which led this within 1 year to 15%. So it definitely has growth potential within this. I just want to review the performance and risk like we did. This is a bar graph showing the 5.26% over the life, and then it just shows the different percentages that it has grown. Now, composition, I just want to get a little more detailed with it. Financials, 18%, industrials, 16%, healthcare, 12%. So you can see that the sectors are a little more weighted in this favor with this mutual fund. The equity style map is blend of value and growth, large cap market companies with greater than 10 billion. When we focus in on the international equities, notice how there are no emerging markets. 99.98% is all developed markets. And for me, that's why I don't pick this fund, is because I want to have some allocation towards emerging markets, especially outside the US. Next, we went over the top 10 companies. We know there's 783 holdings, but look at this diversification. 66% is within Europe, Japan 22%. So if you break it down over here in country diversification, Japan, we said 22%, United Kingdom 14%, France 11%, Swiss 8.89%, Germany 8.38%, Australia 6%, and the list goes on here if you want to snapshot it. Taking an overview over the expenses and fees, 0.035%. That means every $1,000 you have invested, you will pay 35 cents to the manager. Dividend history, as you can see, it looks like it pays once every year in December. And there was also an April payout as well. So once or twice a year you will get it, plus the capital gains. But the history is not good. It shows 2012, 13, 16, and 17. So it doesn't seem as consistent. But the dividend history seems to be in the last couple of years. Definitely something to think about when you're investing in this Fidelity International Index Fund. All right, so the third one, which is my favorite, is the Fidelity Total International Fund. And we're going to go over many reasons why I like this one. Ticker symbol is FTIHX. The NAV is $14 per share. Its year-to-date returns are 6.69%, which is the highest so far. And when you look at the expense ratio, it is 0.06 for gross and net. Now, when we look at the overall top 10 holdings of this, 10% of the total portfolio out of 5,092 holdings. This is why I like it. You're getting big diversification. You're holding 5,000 companies outside of the United States. For me, that's very important. I want that exposure, and I want to hold pretty much all of the stocks within it. I want to review the composition so you can see, because this is more important in my opinion. When you look at it here, financials 19%, industrials 14%, technology 12%, consumer discretionary 11%, and the list goes on there. When you look at the equity style map, it's a value and growth, large cap, greater than 10 billion. But this is the part that I like about it the most. The developed value and growth is 60%, developed small cap 8%, and emerging markets at 28.48%. That's what I'm looking for. I want to have not just developed, but I want emerging markets as well. So I definitely enjoy that Fidelity has that within this fund. When you look at the regional diversification, we're not too much in one country. Europe is 41%, emerging markets is 28%, Japan is 15%. So when we look at the country diversification, you can see here it goes by portfolio weight. So Japan is still heavier at 15%, United Kingdom 9%, Canada 7%, France at 6%, China at 6.57%, India at 5.37%, and the list goes on there. So that's what I'm looking at when I'm looking for the diversification here. When you review the fees and distributions, you are going to pay 60 cents per every $1,000 that you have invested. So that means 0.06%. The dividend history, basically once a year, every December you receive it, and it's about 29 cents or 36 cents. It's been increasing, which is nice to see. I also enjoy that you have no initial investment requirements. It's $0 to get in, and you can buy this whether it's in a retirement account, simple IRA, or you want to buy it in a taxable account. That's all up to you. All right, guys, last but not least is Vanguard's Total International Stock Index ETF. Now, this is not within Fidelity, but I believe that this is worth mentioning. It's an ETF, which makes it different because you can buy and sell this in the same day versus the 3 mutual funds you can only buy at the end of market close. So ticker symbol VXUS. I just wanted to review this real quick. It is another good fund. It has 0.08 expense ratio, so 80 cents per every $1,000 you invest in it. Costs $61.64 currently. It is passively managed, which is what I'm looking for because I want to pay low fees, and that's how you're going to get that 0.08 expense ratio. But what I really enjoy about this is you have a total of 8,661 companies within it. And the top 10 companies, which looks very familiar in every single international portfolio that I have shown you, is only worth 10%. So when I invest in 8,661 companies, I like that the top 10 companies don't make up too much concentration risk within it. So if ASML goes out of business, that's okay. They'll put something in to fill this top 10 holdings. As you can see, Europe at 39%, Asia at 45%. So you're definitely getting a little more diversification there. The market capitalization, giant 44%, 33% large. And you will see the reason that's made up like that is because the style map is large companies greater than 10 billion in assets within value and growth. So very repetitive with these international companies. They're buying big companies that are very successful. Financials, 17%, industrials, 12%, technology, 10%, consumer discretionary, 10%. And if you look at your industry exposure, you're actually more exposed to banks within this international fund at 10.57%, pharmaceuticals at 5.25%, and oil, gas, and consumable fuels at 4.99%. Next, looking at the performance and risk, your hypothetical growth of $10,000 in 2013, if you look at this line right here, $10,000, it would have grown to about $15,500 in that area. So this one has an average life gain of 4.28%. So a little bit lower, and you have to remember it's holding 8,600 companies. So not 8,600 companies are going to do as well as the others. That is why I'm going to give you my number one pick on why I think which fund out of all 4 is the best one long term. Right here, you can see we have all 4 of these listed, and we're just going to compare the overview because I want you to be able to easily compare and see which one gets the biggest returns. FTIHX is my favorite one out of all of them. It's not the lowest expense ratio at 0.06% compared to 0.035 or the 0 expense ratio, but the overall returns of the life of the fund is 6%, but it's only been around for 5 years. So it's definitely something that you have to consider when you're going to pick that. Next, when you look at the year to date, you can see that FSPSX has the highest return out of all of them at 7.41%. And the fund is rated the highest at 4 stars. Management and fees, just like we reviewed, But what I want to show you is when you compare the manager tenure date. So this is how long these funds have been around. FZILX is the zero expense ratio, and it's only been around for 6 years. So for me, I want to see companies that or funds that have been around for at least a minimum of 10 years. That helps. So here we have the international fund FSPSX, which has been around for 21 years. And out of those 21 years, it's only had that 4.5% life return. So that's very low. Next, you have the FTIHX, which is 8 years. And then you have Vanguard's VXUS, which has been around for 16 years. So I definitely enjoy seeing how long a company has been around and how much of the overall returns have they made with the life of the fund. So I think that's very important to look into. Now, when I buy international funds, I'm not expecting to beat the S&P 500. I'm trying to diversify, so in case something happens within US, that I'm able to get some gains outside of it as well. So I just wanted to at least show you that. And Fidelity has this great tool where you are able to, when you go under mutual fund research, you can just type in the symbol and it'll compare them easily for you. And that's what I'm doing right now. All right, guys, if you stuck around this long, I appreciate it. Please hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, share the video. This is my channel, Trading Simplified, almost at 2,000 subscribers. And always remember, entertainment only. I'm just trying to bring out funds that would be potential options for you. Definitely check out some of my popular videos, Fidelity Investments, how to set up the automatic, the semiconductor FSELX, day trading on Fidelity. I have my program on there that I show you within Fidelity that they offer for free. Anybody can do it. Check out my membership too if you're interested. You can join. It doesn't cost much. It's just to support the channel. It's $2 a month. It's just to show appreciation to the channel, which if you don't want to, that's totally fine. Just like it, share it, subscribe it. Always appreciate it, but it is nice. We do have a member on the channel, so that's really great, and I appreciate you for joining. Check out the playlist I have. I have different Fidelity index funds and ETFs, Vanguard investments, trading P&L 2024, investment for beginners, my trading P&L in 2023, long-term investments. There's a bunch of stuff in here, and just for weekly, when I'm trading stocks, I put investing ideas for anything that I think is potential options to trade as well. So definitely